Yo, Donald Trump might have just canceled World War III and confirmed that $250,000 Bitcoin by 2026 is still in play. The markets took a huge sigh of relief and Bitcoin reclaimed 105,000. But many people are forcing the question, if the money printers are about to be turned on and the global war is over, is Bitcoin on the verge of exploding? What I find absolutely hilarious is the man has been playing this game since the beginning of the year. And of course, today we have a very special guest joining us. We got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Bitcoin Ben, in the house. Anyways, let's jump straight into today's show. So what am I talking about? Look, literally since the beginning of Trump's inauguration, the supposed Liberation Day, he's been playing the art of the deal. It's been wild, right? Inauguration day, we hit an all-time high. It was 109,000, and then we were expecting to rip to 150,000 within the next, 2-3 months. But all what happened instead was we took a massive dump, and then the tariff stuff started happening, and then Bitcoin fell from 109,000 to I think it was like 72,000, and we're back at 105,000. And then bam, bing, bam, boom, out of nowhere, he just decided, all right, let's possibly go to war with another country in the Middle East. And it seems like he pulled the art of the deal. Once again, he completely walked that back. I'm gonna show you some of his Truth Social posts. And it seems like we're back on track for 250K, because I'll tell you what, a world war, I don't think we would hit all-time highs. I'll just be honest with you. So that seems like the world war was canceled, just like the tariffs were canceled. And I think Trump's been doing this on purpose the entire time. This is like art of the deal, like art of the deal 101. So first observation I made, which is the Bitcoin price action has literally been following Trump's tweets all year. It's absolutely hysterical. It really, really is. The entire year, the Bitcoin price, depending on what Trump is posting or tweeting, has literally dumped or increased by like 20, 30%. Back in the day, it used to pump like when it was like, oh, Bank of America is looking into Bitcoin. Now it's like whatever Trump is tweeting, the Bitcoin price follows, which is hilarious. So first, I'll start off with this. Congratulations. This is what he posted. The war is over. No more huge conflict. It's done. It's over. I'm going to try to read it in Trump's voice. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. Upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. So, God bless the world. The war is over. Bam, bing, bam, boom. It's done. And he follows up with literally like an hour later, Israel, do not drop these bombs. If you do, it's a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. And then he follows up with Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention on the matter. President Donald J. Trump. And then he goes with Iran will never rebuild their nuclear facilities. He felt a certain way about, how the ceasefire was going, which I found absolutely hilarious. This was him during a press conference earlier this morning.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
I've never heard a U.S. president be so blunt. That ain't simply Bitcoin, by the way. YouTube cursing. That is literally the president of the U.S. basically saying, look, we got a ceasefire. The world is over. It's done. It's being avoided. Back to 250K in the next, 365 days. And then he's literally doing politics on Truth Social for the world to see. It's hilarious. It's like, Iran, don't bomb Israel. And then it's like, Israel, turn around, turn your planes around, bring them back around. Like, dude, it's just hilarious. And then he's just like, these countries have no idea what the F they're doing. Dude, hilarious. I don't think I've seen this level of, I mean, bro, fundamentally, you guys have to remember, he was a talk show host. He was a TV host. So he knows how to hold an audience. And I'm telling you, Trump has cursed in the past, but he when he curses, it always has that emphasis because he doesn't do it often. And that was just, it was just perfect. The way the timing when it came, it was just hilarious. And by the way, all of these posts weren't just directed to Iran and Israel. They were also elected to our friend over at the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. He posted this and he said at 1:30 in the morning, too late, Jerome Powell of the Fed will be in Congress today in order to explain, among other things, why he's refusing to lower the rate. Europe has had 10 cuts. We had 0, no inflation, great economy. We should be at least 2 to 3 points lower, would save the U.S. $800 billion per year. Plus, what a difference that would make if things later change to the negative, increase the rate. I hope Congress really works this very dumb. I can't say that. That's the president saying that, YouTube. That's not me. I hope Congress really works this. What's the appropriate word? Stubborn person over, and will be paying for his incompetence for many years to come. The board should activate Make America Great Again. I've been kind of making predictions about this. I spoke to Tom Luongo. Tom Luongo says no, he's on board. But what I will say is it seems like the Fed has been acting political. I've been saying that for a long time. The reason the Fed has been acting political is they want a CBDC. The Trump administration doesn't want a CBDC. It's very clear that the Fed helped the previous administration. They lowered rates when inflation was high. So it seems like, they're playing hardball with Trump because they don't want the repubs to do good during the midterms, which, again, not surprising whatsoever. But anyways, this whole thing is a comedy. I have to play this one more time. This isn't AI. This is real, and it's absolutely hilarious.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Absolutely hilarious. That is the president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys are enjoying today's Simply Bitcoin Live, make sure to smash that like button, share the video, and of course, we're joined with Bitcoin OG and legend, Bitcoin Ben, joining us on the show today. I mean, dude, World War III is canceled, baby. Trump, art of the deal.
Allegedly.
Art of the deal, man. Art of the deal. This is great. This is wonderful. But it's just so hilarious him being frustrated, with all this stuff, with kind of the negotiations, and him just unfiltered. He doesn't care at this point. He's just speaking exactly what's on his mind. And I think we're back on track for $250,000 Bitcoin. Arthur Hayes is saying by the end of the year. I would say much sooner than that. Bitcoin Ben, what are your thoughts, man?
Number one, I love President Trump. Not because of he's a Republican or anything like that. I love it that we finally have a president that literally gives zero shit about if he's in front of a camera or what he tweets or whatever. He's out there. He is him. He's actually him. That's what the Republicans hate. That's what the friggin' progressives hate. That's what everyone hates, is Trump doesn't give zero question. I have a question for you. Is it all right if I say fuck, or is that like off limits?
If you just say F, that'd be great.
Oh, okay, F. All right.
Yeah. He gives zero Fs.
Freedom. He gives zero Fs. Yeah, and $250,000 Bitcoin, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. Look at the global adoption we have right now, just right now. We have major corporations that are walking over each other trying to accumulate more Bitcoin. We have Texas that's buying Bitcoin. And you know it's crazy when the cowboys are coming. All right. That's when this goes nuts. We have Russia, who is mining the hell out of Bitcoin. You have Saudi Arabia. You have the Middle East. You have Africa. And nobody realizes how large Africa is going to be in this industry. Right? Because I'm telling you guys, there are things, especially like Middle Eastern, some lower Africa, that are huge mining operations that are launching next, probably end of this year. And whatever we blew up the other day that made the hash rate drop, that's going to be replaced very easily with what is coming in Africa. Then we have America. And this is what's going to happen, guys. I'm telling you right now. Trump is replacing the Federal Reserve with a system where Tether, Circle, all Walmart, Amazon, they're all going to issue their own stable coins. And when they do, you're not going to need the Federal Reserve. We are going to replace, hang on one second. We are, I don't know if you can see that. There we go. All right, we are replacing this with digital dollars. The only reason we have the Federal Reserve is paper money. What if we launch a decentralized representation of the dollar that is commercially led and not led through the reserve system? Then why do we need the Federal Reserve? We don't. We no longer need the Federal Reserve. And I mean, what have they really helped us with? Look at all of this, all of our wars, all of our issues, all of our money, all of our houses, inflation. It's all because of the Federal Reserve. It's because 100 and something years ago, a group of very wealthy people got together on Christmas and said, you know what? We're going to take the power of creating the money away from the Treasury, and we're going to give it to some private entities where they can control all of the money. And then in, let's see, what was it, 1934, where they outlawed gold. Well, the reason they outlawed gold was because no one was using their currency. Because exactly,
and they built Fort Knox to house it too, which is the crazy part, right? So they outlawed gold. They took gold from American citizens, and then they built Fort Knox to house that gold. We have not been allowed to, we have not seen video evidence of the gold at Fort Knox since the 1970s. Okay. And when there was some type of video evidence of that gold at Fort Knox, we were only able to see 1 volt. They only showed us 1 volt, which I find interesting. So is that gold even there?
Who
right?
cares?
And
Who
you
cares?
could even say
It's gold.
you
It's
can
worthless.
even say I love this. So yes, I completely agree with you, Ben. This is this is fantastic. I think it's a Trojan horse. Basically the wide adoption of stable coins throughout the world. It's a Trojan horse for Bitcoin. It gets people exposure to digital wallets, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream right now. 1,122 people watching live and 50 or so of you guys watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show right now, make sure to smash that like button. You're listening to Simply Bitcoin Live with Nico, Opti, and our guest today, Bitcoin Ben. During the culture segment, we're going to talk about Bitcoin Ben's clubs that are popping up all over the states. He's buying a hotel. He's buying a bank. And we're going to be talking about all that. Cynthia Lummis has a bill that she introduced with Congressman Mike Rogers that would exempt Americans from paying taxes on small Bitcoin purchases. The state of Ohio seems to have done that as well. And the big breaking news that I want to cover on today's news segment, the Federal Reserve has officially announced that reputational risk will no longer be a component of examination programs in its supervision of banks. This was a very, very powerful tool that was used during Operation Choke Point 2.0 by the government to go after banks that they did not necessarily agree with. So if a bank banked a firearm manufacturer, boom, they use that. What about an oil producer? They use that. What about crypto? What about Bitcoin? They use that, right? This is one of the tools that they used to essentially destroy Signature Bank. That was not meant to go out of business. That was part of Operation Choke Point 2.0. So shout out to Senator Lummis's team for really moving that forward. In other news also, we're not the only ones that are talking about $250,000 Bitcoin. Here's Arthur Hayes. I believe this interview was from Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas, and he's talking about $250,000 Bitcoin and his reasoning behind it.
The 250 by end of the year. Is that still your timeline, or have you changed?
Yeah, so I think that we get to 250,000 by the end of the year. It'll be bumpy along the way, obviously, but that's sort of my end of year price target. And then $1 million Bitcoin is what I just got off stage talking about how they're going to print, I think, in the realm of $9 trillion-ish between now and that period of time. And that is, Fannie and Freddie, the government.
So again, and he was talking about that clip was cut off, but he was basically making the argument that Fannie and Freddie, they have to print between $8 and $9 trillion over the next 3 years alone, just to maintain current U.S. kind of fiscal spending and policy. And that's the reason he's making the case for $1 million Bitcoin by 2028. But in the short term, he's predicting 250K Bitcoin by the end of year. And I don't think that was possible with a potential conflict in the Middle East that it seemed like it was metastasizing, but that seems like that conflict has come to an end. And again, Trump art of the deal this. He did the same thing with the tariffs. And people got pissed. I got pissed too. I remember, I was like, dude, what are you doing? You promised us Bitcoin to the moon. And yeah, Bitcoin had a little bit of a dump. We dumped to 72K. And within a couple months, we recovered back to 105. And it seems like the United States has signed better trade deals with all these countries. So this is part of Trump's negotiation tactics, and we're not used to it. We still have PTSD from the Iraq war. We still have PTSD from the Afghanistan war. We've heard this before. Weapons of, I can't say this, but the big boom weapons, right? And we've heard this narratives before, and those are justifications for these long, drawn-out conflicts that would essentially enrich certain people in certain jurisdictions, right? Like the Imperial City. And we were expecting that. Like, we were expecting that full force. We were like, oh my God, this is a repeat. People were making memes of like Trump and George Bush's face. And then all of a sudden, Trump pulls this.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Oh, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. You know, he's making his victory laps. He's posting it on Truth Social. He's basically saying, listen, guys, I want peace to everyone. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States. God bless the world. And he's talking about a ceasefire. So this war, a 12-day war, ended immediately. And then, of course, he's trying to keep, you know, both parties in check, Israel and Iran. Listen, guys, don't mess with me. You know, turn those planes around. You know, no facilities for you, Iran. Israel, no more bombing, right? So he's keeping true to his base, right? And I will say about the MAGA coalition, this is a one-in-a-century coalition that came behind President Trump because he was an outsider, because he promised no more endless wars, because he promised to end Operation Choke Point 2.0. He brought in ex-Democrats to make them part of his administration, to make a broader coalition, like Tulsi Gabbard, like RFK Jr., and he brought them in, right? This was supposed to be the administration that was going to, you know, basically, you know, shrink the administrative state. And in a way, they have been successful. And
Yes.
This, to me, in terms of political maneuvering, has been absolutely genius, because, again, it gives the machine a little bit of what they wanted. It showed a little bit of flex from the United States. We're going to send our best bombers, and we're going to send them on a mission. No, they're not going to be detected whatsoever. You know, we're going to show our might, you know, power through strength, right? And that's it. It's over. It's done, right? It's over. And it was interesting because apparently Iran gave the United States a heads up when they were going to, you know, respond back, right? And then it was over. It was done. You know, ceasefire, right? So, you know, and then you can hear Trump's frustration, just like, dude, like, guys, you have no idea what the F you guys are doing. Like, just cut it out. It's done. So yes, 250K, back on track, baby. Back on track. 250K by the end of the year. I'm excited. And it seems like Orange Man is keeping his promises. Opti, I know you're a little bit more skeptical on this. I want to hear your takes, and then we'll pass it back to Ben.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not as exuberant as you are around Trump. I'm still kind of uncertain what is actually going on, whether World War III is actually over at this point. There's been some reports that apparently the ceasefire is already falling through, hence why Trump is out there cussing this morning. But to point out a point here, though, I think this is the first time we've ever heard a president actually cuss, and I think that just goes to show the frustration.
He's done it before, but he only does it in very specific.
Fact checked in real time.
He only does it, but he only does it in like to emphasize his points, and he does it he doesn't do it often.
Got it. Okay.
Every once in a while.
Got it. Okay. Well, then that point's moot. But anyways, I think it does go to show there is a lot of uncertainty in the markets, or rather even global geopolitics right now. But one thing is for sure, we're seeing that the markets are reacting in the way that they would think that there is a ceasefire. World War III is basically over. It's not just Bitcoin that is pumping. Obviously, the S&P 500 is pumping this morning. Like, all the markets are reacting in a favorable way right now. And obviously, as a Bitcoiner, you love to see it. And as everyone was saying in the chat, you why would you sell the most liquid store of value, permissionless, censorship resistant money that the best that the world has ever seen, in the face of all of this uncertainty? it makes no sense to a lot of people. But when you understand Bitcoin as the most liquid thing in the market, obviously it's still considered a risk on asset, or, you know, a more risky bet. That's probably why it's being sold right now. People need to sell it so that they can, you know, get some liquidity. What's that, Nico?
You brought up a really good point, right? And I've heard, by the way, shout out to the Rumble. It seems like we're 582 live viewers on Rumble alone. If you guys are enjoying the stream on Rumble, make sure to smash that like button. Give us a follow on Rumble. The YouTube stream coming in hot as well. And of course, the X stream. So if you guys are enjoying today's Simply Bitcoin Live, smash that like button. But I'll add to your point, Opti. It seems like Bitcoin is the most sensitive because it's trading 24 hours. So that's why I kind of made that joke like earlier in the day where I was like, dude, this is hilarious. Like the Bitcoin price is literally trading to Trump's tweets, right? Like, I wonder if he tells his sons beforehand, like, yo, guys.
Yeah, dude, Barron's a good trader.
Dude, remember how he gave like everyone a heads up on one of the on the tariffs deal? He's like, guys, it's a really good time to buy right now. And then he's like, all right, we're walking back the tariffs. And then the market goes up like 20-30%. You know, so I gotta say, man, Master Statecraft, he's playing the art of the deal, bro. This isn't a run-of-the-mill politician. Ben, do you agree? Do you disagree?
Absolutely, brother. And I mean, let's really be honest here. And I know we're on YouTube, so I can't be that damn honest. But Iran, Ukraine, Israel, all of these, let's call them areas of issue, we created them. America. We created Iran in the 1970s when we got rid of the Shah. And who has ran Iran? We have. The CIA has always ran Iran.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pivot the conversation here a little bit, Ben. I'm gonna pivot the conversation a little bit here, Ben. I'm gonna say
I will.
What funds this? Let's cover that topic, right? Because you said something really interesting, right? Which is, okay, you know, these countries have had a lot of influence by the United States, right? That's the argument that you're making in a general consensus, right? We are on YouTube, guys. We love YouTube. We all love the YouTube platform, so we're trying to play by the rules, right? But let's kind of hone in on how the U.S. is able to do that in the first place. The U.S. is able to do that because it has a money printer.
Yes,
fundamentally,
yes,
because it has a money printer. That's what I really want to focus on, right? Because it's like we can go into the nitty gritty and we can go into a lot of the topics that are outside the Overton window that perhaps are not acceptable on this platform. But let's address. I would love that, but I would love that. But let's address the core issue, right? How is the US able to influence all these countries in the first place? And the reason it's able to do that is because of the money printer, because it's able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. As Bitcoiners, we have the solution to this. We have this. I'm going to say this multiple times. We have the solution to fix this. And the way that you fix this is not by voting harder, daddy. That's important. It's important. It's important that Trump was elected, right? But this, I don't think realistically that it's going to be politically feasible for you to basically end the Federal Reserve. I think the way that that's going to happen is by a percentage of the population opting out of the fiat system itself. And then by doing so, you're peacefully protesting against a lot of these things that perhaps you might not agree with, and you're entering into sovereign money. So you're actually doing two things simultaneously. You're peacefully protesting, say, listen, guys, I don't agree with the war machine, right? And simultaneously, you're reclaiming back your financial sovereignty and you're protecting yourself from currency debasement. Is that correct, Ben?
Yeah, all of this is the Federal Reserve and global reserve system. That's what this was all created for. This is not an accident. This was created to destroy the Western world. That's it. It wasn't, well, we had good intentions. We hooked up with Keynes. He had a couple of good ideas, so we rolled with it. No, this was planned to destroy, number one, America. And whatever friends we had, this is, how do you kill a society? You devalue their labor. And that's how
100%.
exactly
100%. 100%. And let's break down the claims that Ben is making, right? So I 100% agree. And this is not fringe. This is not a fringe type of thought, ladies and gentlemen. Like, think about it, right? Even the founding fathers, if you could pull up the quote by George Washington relating to paper money, Opti, you'd be great. And if you guys look at the history of the United States, during what they try to demonize this era in American history, which is the wildcat, the wild banking era. But my response to that is basically like, okay, how many world wars happened during that era? Number one. Number two, how many Great Depressions happened during the so-called wildcat era, the wild banking era? How many depressions and world wars happened during the central banking era? Okay, so I'll leave you guys with those. Those are facts, by the way. That's not an opinion. You could do this research yourself. Those are not politically heated arguments. Those are facts that you can verify. Please verify. Don't take my word for it, right? So let's establish that. The second thing we're going to establish, right, before I read this quote from the founding father of the United States, George Washington, and Andrew Jackson, by the way, because they tried to establish multiple central banks in the United States multiple times, and Andrew Jackson brought them down, right? And you can make an argument, right? I'm going to color between the lines here, very close to the lines. You can make the argument that some presidents put their lives at risk trying to fight this system, right? This is truth. You can research this. Do not take my word for it. Research it, right? So they've been trying to institute a central bank in the United States that has been taking basically the wealth of the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets, and it's redistributing it back to the very wealthy and back to the government. That is the reality. That is what is happening, right? So it is not fringe for you to be against central banking, whether you're a conservative or you're a progressive. If you are in the working class or you're in the lower classes, I'm telling you, central banking is not working for you. It is working against you. It is stealing your time, your energy, and your effort. If you don't believe me, this is a quote from George Washington himself. He says, "Paper money has had the effect in your state that it ever will have, to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and open a door to every species of fraud and injustice." Founding fathers knew the dangers of paper money. So guys, just wake up, wake up, pay attention to what's going on around you. And, I love Ben's theory about how, this stable coin proliferation is just going to expedite, the end of the Federal Reserve in a very peaceful and democratic way, I just might add. Anyways, guys, we have a hell of a show lined up for you guys. Make sure to smash that like button. We're on the verge of breaking 2,000 live viewers just on YouTube and X. Rumble's coming in strong, 250 live viewers on Rumble. Smash that like button. We still have a ton of things to talk about on today's show. Senator Lummis is proposing a bill that would end tax implications for Bitcoin for small purchases, which again would make it like a money, right? The reason that Bitcoin is not used so much as a money right now is because every time you use Bitcoin as money to buy something, it's a taxable event. I don't think that's fair, right? That doesn't apply to fiat money. But before we get into all that, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor, BitcoinWell.com, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. You put in your email address right here. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And why we recommend Bitcoin Well here at Simply Bitcoin is that it's automatic self-custody. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. Also, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points. And you can use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we're going to be doing for you guys right now in just 1 second. Get your Lightning wallets ready, ladies and gentlemen. And essentially the way this works is every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn these points, and you could redeem these points towards a bunch of different prizes, like a Simply Bitcoin hoodie, an orange Cybertruck, or the Wishing Well contest. Every time you toss a coin into the Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. So we're going to toss a coin into the Wishing Well. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code has won 303 sats. That was today's prize. If you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today, again, bitcoinwell.com/simply today, scan the QR code on your screen. You get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well. Every toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just 1 second.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, we are back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $105,980. Block height, 902,544 sats per dollar, 944. Market cap, 2.11 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.02%. Decline from all-time high, negative 5.3%. If you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 5.3% discount. Realized monetary inflation, my favorite stat, continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school, 0.84%. Anyways, the Bitcoin Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, has introduced a bill in Congress that has the potential to be passed. Again, it's another Bitcoin/crypto friendly bill that is being introduced. And it's also being introduced by Congressman Mike Rogers. And part of the bill, it says, or I believe maybe they're just saying this as a statement, that we must pass an exemption to allow Americans to use Bitcoin for small everyday purchases without triggering burdensome tax reporting. The way that it works right now, ladies and gentlemen, is if you want to do things legally, which we recommend here at Simply Bitcoin, every time you spend Bitcoin, it's a taxable event, right? You have to pay capital gains tax for that Bitcoin that you spent, or perhaps you had a loss, right? But you have to stay on top of that. This, in my opinion, right, this isn't fair. Why isn't this fair? If you go to Europe and you spend a euro, right, and you change dollars to euros, right, and you spend a euro, you don't get taxed for that. That's seen as money, right? What is the difference between Bitcoin and a dollar and Bitcoin and a euro? Why do you think the IMF was so hell-bent on reversing El Salvador's Bitcoin law? Why do you think they were so hyper obsessed about that? Because they cannot allow, under any circumstance, for Bitcoin to be viewed on equal terms as fiat money. Why is that the case? Because it proves that money can exist without inflation. And that is very bad news for the people that like to print money, right? It comes down to this. And by the way, this is inclusive. If you're progressive, this affects you. If you're conservative, this affects you. If you're a libertarian, this affects you. Unless you're part of the 1% or the top 5% of America that owns all the assets, every time they print money, you are getting poor. That's a reality. It doesn't matter where you lean, left or right, right? You're getting poor every time they print money. And all Bitcoiners are saying is like, dude, like, that's not fair. Like, let me use a money that doesn't debase. And guess what happens when you start using Bitcoin as your unit of account? Things don't get more expensive. The American dream isn't dead. The American dream is alive and well if you are living on a Bitcoin standard. Things get cheaper for you over time, right? So this is the problem. This is why the IMF didn't want El Salvador to have the Bitcoin law. This is why the IMF didn't want El Salvador to have Bitcoin as legal tender. It comes down to this. So I love these things because it's heading in the right direction. We have to understand Bitcoin is money, guys. Like, I understand, like, Bitcoin is a commodity. Yeah, it's a commodity too, but Bitcoin is money. Fundamentally, it is money, right? So this is great. Also, in the state of Ohio, it already got passed into law. Ohio House passes bill allowing up to $200 tax-free crypto payments. Again, basically saying, and it was 70 to 26. I'm sure some Democrats jumped on this, which is fantastic. We want that bipartisanship. But it's basically saying, hey, look, guys, if it's a transaction under $200 and you're paying for it in Bitcoin or crypto, it's exempt from capital gains. Now, this is on the state level, but as you can see, this is happening on the federal level as well. And here is more information regarding the bill that was introduced. I have a clip for you guys. I'm going to play it, and then we will all talk about it and analyze it.
Joins us with more on that. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Becky. Yeah, well, CNBC got an exclusive first look at what could be the biggest crypto bill of the year coming out of D.C. Banking Chairman Tim Scott, along with Senator Cynthia Lummis, introduced a framework today for a piece of legislation that would really provide the rules of the road for crypto and other digital assets. Now, this framework includes things like a definition of digital assets, when they would be regulated as a security versus as a commodity. The framework for the bill commits to reducing regulation, and it also says that there is a need for a small common sense package of measures directed at things like preventing money laundering and sanctions evasion. Now, the bill is yet to come, but Lummis, who called for the bill to pass before the end of the year, has said in a statement to CNBC that while the European Union and Singapore have established clear regulations, U.S. continues to sit on the sidelines while the digital asset industry seeks greener pastures. That changes today, she says. The new outline builds on momentum last week when the Senate passed a stablecoin bill with strong bipartisan support. Trump is now pushing for the House to move on that bill, saying on Truth Social that the House must get it to my desk ASAP, no delays, no add-ons. But the House has their own version of not just the stablecoin bill, but also today's introduced bill on market structure. And Chairman French Hill says he wants them to move together before the end of August. So a lot of crypto news coming up on Capitol Hill. Becky?
Emily, thank you. I mean, this has been the problem for so long. The two houses of Congress disagreeing on how it should get ordered. Wonder if that.
Well, we basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
All right, everybody, we are back. Dude, I absolutely love that clip. I kind of just want to frame it because it's absolutely hilarious. But kind of commenting on what they were saying. Great coverage, by the way, on Legacy Media. Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. This is great. We got the Genius Act passed. You can, dude, could you pull up the picture of Elizabeth Warren in frustration? That was hilarious. The Genius Act was passed. Ben was making the case that this is amazing. This is fantastic. This is one step forward for ending the root cause. Like, Ben was going into the details, and Ben, I would love to do a Rumble exclusive where me and you just go ham, because me and you will talk for we and you will talk for 3 hours. Guys, if you just knew the surface level of this stuff, like your mind would be blown, right? So this is Elizabeth Warren, a picture of her when the Genius Act was passed. As you could tell, she was frustrated. Could you pull up? No, that's rude.
Why do we give a crap what the government is telling us we can do with our decentralized money? They have no control over it. I can send you Bitcoin whenever I want to. Screw Washington, D.C. I love Trump. I love what he's trying to put in place. But what I've never wrapped my head around is we know that the IMF, absolute evil piece of craps. The Federal Reserve was actually created to slowly kill all of us. Hang on, financially, wink, wink. And all we have the SEC, which is not even a legitimate constitutional entity. And yet we have all of these people who give a F what these people say. They're all illegitimate. They all are not constitutional. And why we keep on giving them any ounce of credibility amazes me. If you have a system that was created to destroy you, your family, and your country, why the hell do we keep listening? I don't care what I like to call him Chairman Powell because he reminds me of Chairman Mao, is why are we listening to this dipshit? He's the head of a criminal organization that has robbed us for hundreds of years. And yet, let's watch MSNBC and give a crap what he says. These are all evil people in an evil system that have killed millions of Americans and millions of people all over the world. And for some reason, we keep giving them airtime like they matter.
Let's break down what Ben was saying. No, it's all good. Let's break down. We have to do a Rumble exclusive episode so we can do a deep dive on all this. But so look, let's break down, right? So the Ron Paul quote comes to mind, right? It's not a coincidence that the century of central banking is also the bloodiest century in human history, right? So what does Ben mean by all of this? So like making these claims, like, look, like, you know, the Federal Reserve and this system is putting the lives of Americans at risk. Like, what does he mean by that? It's very simple. back in I love reading about history, because you read about history and you kind of start to see patterns and stuff. Back in the Middle Ages, if you take a look at the 100 Years' War, essentially the reason it was 100 years is because essentially when it was between France and England, and what would happen was that the wars would really last between 2 or 3 years, and then one side or the other would run out of gold. And then they would have to come up with the treaty, right, to stop the war, right, because they couldn't pay the soldiers. So think about this for a second. So they couldn't pay the soldiers, so the soldiers would have to go home. And then when they had more gold, they would say, okay, all right, guys, time to go back to war. The problem with central banking, as Ben so passionately just described, and by the way, I feel the same, passion inside. I'm just trying to YouTube. I'm doing my best, bro.
You can blame me.
The reason that the reason that we feel so passionately about this as Bitcoiners is because of the Federal Reserve. It gives the ability for the government to create money out of thin air, therefore funding the endless war machine. And who are the victims of that? Everyday Americans. Everyday Americans, lower and middle classes that are fighting for a cause. They believe in this, right? And then they come home, right? And then, they're maimed, they're injured, right? It's horrific. War is terrible. And what sound money does is it makes war expensive. It actually makes trade and commerce more lucrative than war. In a fiat money system, in a fake money system, it makes war more profitable than commerce, right? So you have a misalignment of incentives. This is what Ben is describing, right? So let's end the wars for good, buy Bitcoin, and war. That's not a hyperbolic statement. When we say that, that's not an over-exaggeration. That is reality. That is reality. The reason that you have these endless wars is because they can fund them endlessly. What Bitcoiners are advocating for is enough is enough. That's it. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to earn, buy, mine a currency that I can put into self-custody, meaning I have total custody over it, that cannot be debased. And therefore, it takes away their ability to fund endless wars. That's what Ben is saying in a very passionate way. But yes, that is the system that we currently live in.
We live in a slavery system. It was created to enslave us, because when you rob us of our purchasing power, you are taking away our time. That's our life. That's our sovereignty. That is our time. We have a limited amount of it. So if you devalue the unit in which we hold our reserve of time, then that is slavery. Because after
100%,
right, after I won't even go there. But what I will say is World War I was absolutely a lie. World War II, absolutely a lie. Korean War, absolutely a lie. Vietnam, absolutely a lie.
Let me rephrase this. So the wars were real, right?
Oh, yeah,
and a lot of people, unfortunately, perished, and a lot of American patriots fought, for a good cause. But what Ben is trying to say is trying to articulate is the motivation, the reasons as to why we went to war in the first place
was a lie.
Why the American people were sold on the justifications for those wars was not true. Or let me actually be a little bit more politically correct.
Boy, I don't think
It was a lot more. There was a lot more nuance. There was a lot more nuance. And here's the thing about this statement from Ben. Right now, we're getting to a point that we have been, since the United States has been through endless wars since Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex. The thing is, the war excuses are suffering from inflation themselves. At this point, the majority of the American people do not believe in the excuses anymore. We had the good faith. The war in Korea, the war in Vietnam, the war, all those wars, they had the good faith of the American people. At this point, when they tried to sell us on this previous one, the vast majority of the American people were not buying it. They're like, oh my God, this is like, we've seen this before. This is not a good idea, right? So, but it doesn't stop the machine from trying. And what Bitcoiners are advocating for is the machine is going to continue to try. If we don't fix the incentive structure where, and I actually posted this the other day. I have to read it for you guys because it was really, really, really good. If this actually loads, if we don't fix the incentive structure, we are destined to keep repeating this over and over again. And the reason for that is simple. It's again, I don't blame a lot of these people. I won't even say that they're inherently evil. I would just say that it causes a certain type of incentive, and that is what you're witnessing right now. This is what I said. I said governments have no incentive to perform because no matter how disastrous their decisions are, they can still pay for themselves. Separate money from state, right? So I'll just leave it at that. And guys, let's move on to the news segment. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the live stream. 2,023 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X. Smash that like button if you guys are enjoying today's content. 200 of you guys watching live on Rumble. Let's get to the news segment. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just 1 second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY.
Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card. All right, everybody. One of the most powerful things you can do your financial sovereignty, and the way that you do that is by taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. We recommend the best Bitcoin hardware wallet in the game, the Cold Card. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Cold Card website, where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the coldcard.com store. All right, let's jump straight into today's news segment. Big news, big win for the freedom movement. Here is Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming. In February, I exposed the Fed's aggressive reputational risk policies that destroyed American Bitcoin and digital asset businesses. Wow, this is really hard. Today, the Fed announced that it will scrap reputation risk as a factor in its bank supervision. This is a win, and there is still more work to be done. So she's pointing out, again, explicit and undeniable proof of choke point 2.0. And she has a screenshot of Reserve Bank staff generally should consider the conduct of the institution and its leadership, whether association with the institution poses undue reputational risk to the Reserve Bank. And now you're hearing this and you're like, and I'll read you the official press release. Because again, guys, this is insidious. This is very insidious, the wording. You have to pay attention to it. So here's the official release. And by the way, this is why did this happen? Elections have consequences. The Trump administration came in. They put pressure on the Fed. The Fed was not a fan of Bitcoin and crypto. I would say they were complicit in Operation Choke Point 2.0. There was a screenshot of Senator Lummis catching the Fed with their plans to essentially launch a central bank digital currency. Here's Jerome Powell testifying in front of Congress as it relates to the industry.
That banks get to decide who their customers are. That's not our decision. And so banks are free to provide banking services to the crypto industry, to crypto companies. And banks are also free to conduct crypto activities as long as they do so in a.
So that is, I'm telling you guys, you have to understand the wording here. The framing is extremely important. And we've been spending the last 2 or 3 years for you guys breaking down the framing, the importance of framing. We accurately called what would happen after the tornado cash arrests. We said the tornado cash arrest would lead to a precedent that would essentially make it so that open source software is able to be sanctioned by the US government. Then that led to the arrest of the Tornado Cash developers, right? So we were on top of all this. You guys have to understand, this isn't just like one day to the other, self-custody is banned. No. That's not how it works. You have to set precedents. You have to set narratives. You have to set framings. That's why you heard wording like, an unhosted wallet. That word was it was invented to make it seem like an unhosted wallet is abnormal, right? Think about the word, an unhosted wallet, unhosted, right? Hosted makes it seem like that's normal, but hosted means it's in custody of a third party. Unhosted means that it's in self-custody. You see how they play with words? Words are extremely powerful here. So we're going to do a breakdown of this press release that came out. And this was a huge win. So this came out of the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve Board on Monday announced that reputational risk will no longer be a component of examination programs and its supervision of banks. Okay, you're looking at that. It seems innocent, right? You're like, reputational risk, Nico, like, oh my God, like reputational risk. That's true. That's important. Like, we should care about reputation. Here's the problem. Who gets to define what is reputation? It's the same thing with speech. Who gets to define what is appropriate speech and what is not appropriate speech. The First Amendment, it's not perfect, but the founding fathers understood that the moment the government has the ability to define what speech is okay and what speech is not okay, they would be politically motivated and incentivized to go after certain speech. That's why the First Amendment is the way it is. That's why in the United States, we have freedom of speech. It's not perfect, but it's better than the alternative because the alternative will be abused. So what they used here in this language was wordsmithing. It's very, very tactful. It's very, very tactile, surgical, the way that they did it, because you're like, reputational risk. Like, that's true. But what is reputational risk? Like, let's talk about that. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive. So reputational risk is the risk that the bank or company will suffer damage to its public image, which in turn could lead to financial losses, like losing customers, investors, or partners. In practice, it means regulators or risk officers might flag or punish behavior not because it's illegal or fiscally reckless, but because it looks bad or might offend public opinion. Wait a second. The country is completely divided. How can you? Which way? What do you mean? Some banking activities might offend a certain group of people. Some banking activities might offend another group of people. If it's not illegal, then who gets to decide that, right? That's the problem when they use these broad terms. It is purposely vague, right? So I'll give you a couple examples. A bank does business with an oil company. Activist protest. Regulators call it reputational risk. You could see how that could be weaponized. A payment processor serves politically controversial figures. Media backlash. Reputational risk. A bank supports firearm manufacturers. Social pressure. Reputational risk. By the way, none of those things are illegal. All of those things are legal, right? So you could see how that's weaponized. And that has been weaponized over the last 4 years, including against the president's own family. Eric Trump made a speech at the Bitcoin conference talking about how his family was debanked. One of our lead sponsors, Bitcoin Well, the CEO, Adam O'Brien, he is debanked across Canada, right? Remember the Canadian truckers protest. So this vague, subjective, easily politicized, reputational risk was used to go after certain political ideologies. Here's certain political ideologies and their constituents. So here's Will Hild, and he said, the Federal Reserve Board just announced that they are eliminating reputational risk as a component of bank exams. This is a huge win. This was one of the key tools big banks used to try to justify their debanking of certain political ideologues, right? So anyways, now check out the framing. I always talk about framing, guys. It's so important. The framing of this is so important. Check out this Wall Street Journal article responding to this press release by the Federal Reserve. It says, big banks worried about being Trump's next target race to appease Republicans. Texas and Oklahoma have banned some banks from state contracts, saying they discriminate against the gun and fossil fuel industries. Are those industries illegal? Are fossil fuels illegal? You see how they changed? You see how they did like a little bait and switch? It's like, oh my God, they're discriminating against banks. No. The banks discriminated against certain industries, and they no longer have the protection of the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve saying, no, you can't use reputational risk as an excuse, right? But you could see how the media, the legacy media, is trying to frame this. big banks worried about being Trump's next target. Really? I remember the last 4 years was who was the one being targeted? Who was the one being targeted, ladies and gentlemen? And again, I'm not going to talk about Trump specifically, but I remember our industry being targeted for the last 4 years, right? We were a reputational risk, even though nothing that what we were doing was blatantly illegal. But again, someone decided that it was a quote unquote reputational risk, right?
Oh.
So anyways, I just want to break all of this stuff down for you guys so you guys are armed with the tools so that when you go in Thanksgiving and you have that one family member that for whatever reason is still reading the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal and they're looking at these articles, you're able to argue with them with the truth, with the facts on your side, and you're able to understand media narratives and you're able to understand how the media phrases things in order for you to get a certain type of response back. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Ben. Ben, we are on YouTube. Please give it 10% of what you would normally give it.
This is the equivalent of a husband kicking the crap out of his wife for years.
Metaphorically.
And then all of a sudden says, you know what? I'm going to quit hitting you, but you better make my dinner right. I'm watching you.
Metaphorically. This is a terrible example, Ben.
It's a great example. We are cheerleading that the organization that has attacked us for the last 4, 8, 12, 15 years is not going to hit us so hard. Oh, thank God. Thank you, Federal Reserve. Thank you for changing your opinion, but not really changing your opinion because you're only putting this out on paper and you're not really going to apply it in real life. We are listening to liars, assuming that they're not lying anymore. Why do we do that? If a liar is a liar is a liar. If a liar is lying, why do you keep listening to the liar? We have the IMF, we have the Federal Reserve, we have all of these, we have the progressives, we have the rhinos, we have everything going on. Everyone knows what's really going on, but we want to seem like we don't, I'm in the middle, I'm a moderate. No, do you know what a moderate is? It's someone who is too large of a kitty cat, different word, to actually sit and plant his or her feet and say no. Well, we finally have a president who is planting his feet and saying no. No. And we have a huge federal government that is anti getting their jobs eliminated. And our problem is we have generational ignorance of what freedom really is. Right? We look at our lives and we think, man, we're free. My grandfather would have marched on Washington if even a fraction of this would be going on in his time.
Peacefully and democratically.
Yes, I guess so. Maybe my grandfather was a little different than your grandfather.
He would have done it peacefully, democratically.
Well, George Washington didn't, so I'm with George. And I'm not saying that we have to rise up with the pitchforks and all that bullshit to shoot. We just have to quit listening to liars. And we have to tell you the truth, I don't care if the federal government adopts the Bitcoin. I don't care because it wasn't made for the federal government. It was made for the people. Now, that's how currencies work. That's how they always have, is you have a group of individuals who choose a unit of exchange. And then all of the shopkeepers will adopt either that unit of exchange, or here's a great example, credit cards. For years, everyone's like, oh, credit cards, I'm never going to accept credit cards. Well, now everyone accepts credit cards. That's where we're at. We're in a transition from silver and gold to paper money, from paper money to I guess you would actually call it the petrodollar. And now we're evolving into the digital realm. And this has allowed us to use technology to eliminate the middleman. So my argument is, why do we give a crap what the middleman says when we don't need him anymore? That's like leaving your ex-girlfriend, getting a hot girlfriend, and then seeing what your ex-girlfriend feels about it. Nobody cares.
So, and then let me make this YouTube friendly. So essentially, basically, like, you know, and actually Jeff Booth has said this as well, Ben, which is basically along the lines of, like, the more attention you give to the legacy system, the more you empower the legacy system. And the more you can empower yourself is by opting out entirely and going on to a Bitcoin standard. And there you become your own citadel. Just by doing that, you become a sovereign individual by doing that. And you're absolutely right. You don't really have to pay attention to you know, the opinions of Jerome Powell, because you are in your own kind of sovereign territory. You're basically using the currency of a sovereign country in cyberspace, right? That you're able to custody in a very effective manner. And despite whatever the bankers on TV and Suits have to say, it does not affect you and your Bitcoin, right? So I 100% agree with Ben's outlook on here, and I'm just trying to make it YouTube friendly. Anyways, guys, let's get to the culture. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin Ben's club. He has so many different locations. He has one in Sarasota. He has one in Nashville. He has one in Massachusetts. He has one in St. Louis. He has one in Dallas. He has one in Las Vegas. He has resorts in El Salvador, and Bitcoin Ben's Jet Club, Bitcoin Ben's Yacht Club. I mean, this is a conglomerate of Bitcoin Ben all over the world. So we're going to be talking about that in just 1 second. We're going to hit the culture. We will be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe. And you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io.
All right, everybody, we are back, and we got Bitcoin Ben in the house joining us on today's show, dropping the fire. We're going to have to do a Rumble exclusive between me and Ben, and we're just going to go absolutely ham down the rabbit hole and talk about some interesting topics. But no more delay. Let's jump into all this. First, starting off with you, Ben, what is Bitcoin Ben's World Ventures? What is this?
I launched this so we can actually take the world back, because we have a choice. Either we run the new system or the old system will take over our system. So I chose years ago. I'm older. I'm getting older. I want to change the world, and you can't change the world if you're sitting on the effing couch. And I'm going global. I don't care if I run out of money. I don't care what happens. I am literally going to get the world more free than when I was born. When I leave, I want the whole world to say that guy was crazy, but we are a little bit more free because he was here. And what I want to do is I want to decentralize everything. That's the only way freedom will exist. Centralized anything is slavery of everything outside of the centralization. And we have the technology. Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we just decentralizing everything? We don't need government approval. We don't need SEC. They can kiss my ass. And it's because someone has to plant their feet. And I love you, Nico. You are amazing. But I'm too old to give an F.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. And and you want to decentralize this stuff, Ben, and I hear you. And I by the way, I agree with you. And you know, and in a way, I think it's going to happen naturally as more and more people opt out of the previous system, and you know, they opt into the new system. The size of government is going to naturally shrink over time. And I think the rise of more and more sovereign individuals. I just had my first daughter, and she's going to be a sovereign individual from a very young age. She's going to know Bitcoin. She's not going to have she's not going to be a big fan of fiat money, right? And again, one of the cornerstones of power that the state has, the government has, is again fiat money, the ability to create money for free. And again, it's not tyrannical, or it shouldn't be outside the Overton window to be able to say that. Like, that's a reality. Fiat money has taken the future from my generation, the future of the next generation. And this is what we're here. This is what we're fighting against. So one of the things that we say here at Simply Bitcoin is Bitcoiner slavery. That is not a hyperbolic statement, right? You are either in a Bitcoin system, a sound money system that's going to protect your purchasing power, And it's going to protect your time and your energy, or you're in a system where it will get debased by currency debasement, by inflation, right? That's the reality. So I want to go through some of these clubs, ladies and gentlemen. If you're located in any of these cities, there's a Bitcoin Ben has a club in Sarasota. They have poker night, they have social events, they have classes, they have meetups. Bitcoin Ben has a club in Nashville. There's a podcasting room, center, classes, one-on-one training. There's Bitcoin Ben's club in Massachusetts. There's Bitcoin Ben's club in Las Vegas, and there's Bitcoin Ben that just opening, by the way, grand opening in June. Bitcoin Ben's club in Dallas, and then there is a Bitcoin Ben club coming to St. Louis. Also, Bitcoin Ben resorts, Bitcoin Ben resort in Crypto Casa El Salvador, Beach Whale Resort El Salvador, Party Palace El Salvador, and Bitcoin Ben's Jet Club and Bitcoin Ben's Yacht Club. So again, lots of resorts, lots of clubs, yachts, jets. This is all for sovereign individuals. This is all for Bitcoiners, right? So check this out. Check out the programs. This is a great way to connect with fellow Bitcoiners, learn about, decentralized food, centralized medicine, Bitcoin mining, hodling, purchasing Bitcoin, right? This is a great, great way. Seems like, Ben, you're also launching a fully regulated Bitcoin bank as well. That's coming up
El Salvador.
in El Salvador. So that's really exciting as well. And then Beef and Bitcoin. Again, love that. Love Texas Slim. He's a huge fan. We're a big fan of his, and he's a friend of the show. Again, you can check out Texas Slim. You can get sent amazing steak directly to your home, at least if you live here in the United States. So yeah, man. I mean, this is awesome. Guys, go to bitcoinben.io to stay tuned on all the things that Ben is working on to move the world to a sovereign world, a world where individuals reclaim back their sovereignty. And this is a great way to connect with fellow Bitcoiners at all these awesome clubs in all these different cities across the United States, and all these different resorts that are across El Salvador.
Yeah, it's and let me explain why I launched all of this, because we need average people on to learn what is really going on. We need average truck drivers. We need average waitresses. We need retired people. There are so many people who don't watch YouTube that have no idea what is really going on with the Bitcoin. Well, while everyone else is online and sitting out X's and all that crap, I knew we'd reach a point where the brand of the Bitcoin would be so popular and just everyone would know it, but no one would know anything about it. 90% of the people who walk in our clubs have never watched a YouTube, have no idea about crypto, Twitter. No, it's them driving by. They see a huge friggin' sign that says, Bitcoin Ben Sarasota or whatever. And they walk in and go, my brother's got a little bit of Bitcoin, but I don't know nothing about it. We have online classes. We have at our clubs, we hold classes. My job, or as I see it, is to educate the average person who ain't got the time to watch YouTube Monday through Friday, 8 until 4. They're out there working 2 or 3 jobs because the Federal Reserve has absolutely slit their economic throats over the last 125 years.
Metaphorically.
And metaphorically, of course. And that's why I launched these clubs. We have to help each other because the government sure ain't going to do it. So and actually my grandfather, I love you, Pop, always said, never say somebody should do something because you're somebody. And so I saw a problem. I had a little bit of money and I'm like, you know what? Hell with it. If this country is losing freedom and we are going down in a communistic pile of crap, I'm not just going to sit and watch. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try and educate every single person that walks or rides their friggin' bike or drives right past my club. And I am going to advertise on shows. And I'm going to get as many average Joes and Janes into this industry, into this friggin' currency that we all know and love. But the average Joes, they don't have time to learn about it. That's why all of your friends, it isn't that they don't love you. It isn't that, because we all, hey man, you need to buy Bitcoin. You need to buy Bitcoin. None of our friends have time to learn about what the hell you're talking about because they're all struggling to just keep their heads above water. And I, for one, am sick and tired of it. So I am putting my money and my reputational risk on the line, and I'm saying, F government. And I am literally going balls deep into this. I don't care if I go broke. I don't care if I wind up homeless in El Salvador on a beach showering once a week. Freedom's worth it. Your child that you just had, she's worth it. I am an old man. I have 3 kids. I would much rather have, and if I get emotional, it's okay. I don't need a Kleenex. I would much rather have me at war with this system than have my grandchildren at war with this system, because someone has to go to war with it. And I volunteer wholeheartedly to go to war with this corrupt system that has killed thousands of our fellow humans and has hurt our children, hurt our grandparents who are living on a fixed income from Social Security that sure don't give them no damn security. So I digress, but we are either going to win this or they are going to bury me, and I'm okay with either.
So beautiful freedom speech, man. You guys got to go check out bitcoinben.io. He is on a mission. We're all on a mission as Bitcoiners. I think we fundamentally believe in, definitely the separation of money and state, for sure. I think that as long as the state has the ability to create money, it is inevitably going to be tyrannical, and it is going to impede on the liberties of individuals. It's just going to make the administrative state continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, that is going to take away people's freedoms. And that's the reality of it. So guys, go check out bitcoinben.io. I think Ben and I are going to do a Rumble exclusive episode where we just go absolutely crazy. I just saw we got a super chat. Appreciate the super chat, dude. Today is June 24th, 2025. I'm your host, Nico. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields, and our special guest for today, Bitcoin Ben in the house. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.